Call meeting to order, 5:01 PM. Introductions with select board first, please.
Scott Morley, Select Board.
Karen Keeman, Select Board.
Ed Fournier, Town Administrator.
Chris Roy, Town Resident, Newport Daily.
Matthew Wilson, Reporter, Chronicle.
Norm Pattern, Pike Industries.
Norm Patton of Allstate.
All right, we have Town Clerk Deb Hangway. We have Arlene Weinhardt. Kelly Gleason is with us. David Barlow. And Melanie Rodzinski is with us. All right, changes or additions to the agenda. Public comment. Okay, we'll start with the 2025 Solid Waste Implementation Plan Public Meeting. Welcome, Kelly, and you both have the packet there. Read.
Yep.
How are you?
Hi, Ed. Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Do you guys want me to kind of go through the whole plan again, or just talk about what it is and just the small change that we made from the last time?
I've read it all. This is Scott. I've read it all. I'm very comfortable with it. I would like some discussion on it, and certainly anything that's been adjusted.
Yes. The only thing that was adjusted was that I swapped in Ed's name from Matt Maxwell's name. Because when we drafted it, Matt was in that role. So you'll see new in this version of the SWIP, the state is asking for they said sign and date, and then later followed up with an email that said we could type names to acknowledge each of the requirements. And so I went through the document, and anywhere that Matt had signed it back in June, I swapped in Ed and added the date as of today, December 1st. And so I'll just kind of run through the overview again. This is the same 5-year plan that you guys have to update every 5 years as required by the state's materials management plan. And we have helped you guys out with this as per the host town agreement for many, many years. And the only real difference is, the largest difference is in this iteration of the plan, as opposed to the previous one that expires at the end of this year, is that there is now a requirement for a disaster debris plan, which we will have to work together, the town, and I can help you guys with that, on identifying places to stage potential sort of flood debris or other disaster debris should we ever end up with catastrophic flooding again. Let's hope we've had our fair share of that, but I think we can all say that we probably haven't seen it, right? So in the first year 1, which is 2026, we'll have to work together to identify places in which the state's disaster debris contractor, so they bring in an out-of-state contractor to manage that, could stage waste should you have flooding or other things like that. So that is new in this SWIP term, so we'll have to take care of that. And then the other big change is the shift from requiring 20 businesses. For you guys, it's never 20 businesses because there aren't 20 businesses. But it's the shift from requiring 20 businesses overall to requiring 15 businesses and 5 municipal and solid waste contacts. So all that did for me was make it, now that I have to go talk to Trish. And I always include the town office in the outreach because there aren't a ton of businesses that we do outreach to. So it didn't really change much there. So that's really the big differences. Everything else is pretty much the same from your last 5-year plan. What this does is we handle the education and outreach on the required topics from the state. You guys partner with some of the other independent towns to host the household hazardous waste events that we put on at the landfill twice a year. That is one of the requirements. And some other requirements on the A to Z list, which lives on the website that we manage and tells people where they can take items to dispose of them or recycle them.
There was one website in here I didn't even know existed. It was Coventry.
Recycles. Yeah. So we started, gosh, yours has been around for quite a while now, probably like 4 or 5 years, and it links from your town website. And the reason that we created a separate website was because the state will ping us. I actually got one today for another town and say, we want you to update X, Y, and Z item, right? Whether that's we want you to change the way that white goods are listed. And it was not necessarily you guys, but in other instances, it was hard to get someone at the town to update the town website with the information that we needed. So we ended up developing websites for all of the towns that I can manage. So when the state says, hey, we need you to change this verbiage, I can pop in and change it really quick, as opposed to having to come to you guys who all have a lot else to do. I think it was Deb probably that I was bugging all the time before to update things. So
All right, well, we appreciate you, Kelly. You make this very, very easy for us all
thank you. I appreciate you guys.
and very.
I was supposed to come up there tomorrow, but I think my plans might have changed because I just found out that there's no school.
Oh, you must be in the south.
Yes. Yeah, I live down near Killington. We're supposed to get quite a bit of snow.
Okay.
I can attest to that too, just how smooth of a process it's been working with Casella and Kelly on this. So,
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So are you content with all that?
I am. I haven't read it word for word, but
So let's, so we need to, accept it, and I think also at the same time, authorize Ed
Mhm.
to be our signator.
I make a motion to accept the Town of Coventry 2025 Solid Waste Implementation Plan as presented, authorizing Ed to sign for us.
Okay, I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just like that, Kelly.
Thank you.
I don't anticipate my next one to be so simple, but thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
thank you, Kelly.
Have a great night, everybody.
You
Thank
too.
Do you want this one, Ed?
Sure. Thank you. All right, next up, as you know, we're gonna be demolishing 89 Main Street location through Vermont Emergency Management. So I have the demolition proposals for you. I also threw in your packet the request for proposal that I sent out. So if you want to read that.
Yep, that looks
Yeah,
good.
there's
Very good.
4 of them there.
Okay, is Caroline with us?
She is.
Hello.
Hi, Carleen, how are you?
Hey, I'm well. How are you guys?
Very good.
Good.
Things are going along with all this. I think you have a
Yes.
coming up.
Yeah,
Is it
the
this
4,
week?
yeah.
Yeah, Thursday. Dan's gonna be there for the select board, and Brian and Steven will be there. Of course, my sister Valerie can't travel, and I was gonna travel, but the government has somehow made that very undesirable at this point in time, so I won't be coming up for the closing. But I will, Ed's graciously offered to set up a Zoom meeting, so I will attend via Zoom. So, but I think we're doing good, and I just joined in today in case anybody had any questions as far as the property, and I sent Ed some information this morning. So just you guys have been tremendous. It's I know been a 14-month process, but it's gone really well, and the town, the select board, of course, Matt, I don't know if he's there tonight, but he did really well, and Ed has just picked up and kept right on going flawlessly. So, and I do know, I told Ed earlier, the town attorney received all of my signed documents today. So when they come up on Thursday, everything should be good to go.
Good.
Thank you. You've been a big help too and very easy to communicate with. So,
Nice.
All right.
So I missed last meeting, and this must have been an item last meeting, if I remember.
I think so.
So just update, remind me of everything here. So the closing is this week.
The closing's this
Yeah,
week.
the closing was an item last, just we
Yeah.
not.
And Dan's gonna come in for the closing.
Dan's gonna do the closing,
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's on the 4th.
He offered to do it since I did the last one.
okay. So that'll be all taken care of. So what are we doing tonight?
So you have 4 demolition bids there
Yep.
To take it down.
to take it down.
Okay, so this is a state versus the last one we did, which was FEMA, which
Yeah, so they
coordinated
took
all
over
that for
everything.
us.
Did this one because it's through VEM, so we had to do it ourselves.
All right. So, and that's a decision that we're gonna make now.
Yes.
All right. Well. Well, anything unusual or anything that we need to be thinking about at the same time?
I would say the biggest thing is the time frame. It's supposed to be down the 31st.
By the 31st?
Yeah, I've let everybody know, it's clear in the proposal and everything, I've been letting everyone know, they tested it for asbestos, there is some in there. The person that's gonna do the abatement on that told me as soon as the closing is done, he'd try to get in right away, so everything seems to be progressing good time-wise.
Okay,
But there is some pressure there on the time, so I would say that's the biggest thing to focus on.
okay.
All right, so the first one I read in the that policy. I think I named names and what the amount is and all that fun stuff. So Bowman Excavating, demolition and removal of 89 Main Street. Owner responsible for hazmat inspection and removal, i.e. lead paint, asbestos, etc. So they're not gonna do that. So $108,200. Oh, I didn't, you just,
Okay.
all right, so the Rushies. This is a big difference. Demolition proposal of property located at 89 Main Street. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. All work to be done per your request. So does our request include like the asbestos and stuff?
No, that was a separate
Okay.
thing. I've been working with the company
So
to
these,
test it.
so these guys bid just under 25,000.
Tell me, what did you just say?
The asbestos is separate. I took care of that before the bids for the demolition.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning I contacted the company, they went in, tested it, there is asbestos there, and now they're gonna take it out as soon as the closing is done. And it's separate from the demolition.
And that cost is
A separate
a
cost.
separate
Yep.
cost. I'm not quite familiar enough. Carlene is still with us. Carlene,
Yes,
you just heard that?
yes.
You've been in the detail of this right along, so help me as a person sitting here not remembering exactly what that means.
In regards to the asbestos abatement,
Yeah.
yeah, so we expected there to be a little bit of asbestos that was, buried kind of deep in the house as it is 125 years old. Yeah, it shouldn't take much to do the abatement. I also did environmental work before, so they should be able to come in and remove it. The cost is going to be disposing of it, the material they remove with the asbestos on it. So I don't know if they gave Ed some type of separate bid for actually doing the abatement and then another bid for doing the disposal, because I don't think Casella can take it up there at their location. But the cost for the asbestos abatement will be more on the disposal side than actually taking the asbestos out, because it's not a lot of asbestos, but obviously needs to be removed as lead paint would, but there's no lead paint left in the house. It's been remodeled and repainted so many times, there's nothing left. So
I don't
Ed,
have a document in front of me, but I did remember as you talked, I think there was so little in there that it's gonna be
Yeah.
like $1,200 to $1,500, I think.
yeah, it shouldn't be much. In fact, I'd be surprised if it was even a 55-gallon drum full of asbestos material to be disposed of. But yeah, it's if the first bid includes any of that, then definitely would want to get some other type of estimate because maybe they weren't aware that it was going to be done separately, or even if there was asbestos in there because we didn't tell anybody. Ed got the contractor to come out and take a look at it. They found it and went on. So as far as I know, nobody else would know that there was asbestos in there. And I think that was the way to go so that the demolition company wouldn't have to deal with the asbestos because obviously it's different than just going in and knocking a building down.
Yeah, so that one does not include,
This one doesn't.
no. And this just says all work to be done per your request.
Okay, and this grant, again, being different than the last one we just did, what are our rules around expense versus reimbursable on this?
There's a total they go by and then it's broken down, you know. And I've been working with Lisa Cole with VEM, and that's the process she said to take the asbestos and then the demolition. But it's all, you know, the town pays and then it's reimbursable by sections, but it's, you know, the number you want to go by is by the total number. That's what you don't want to go over, so.
Okay, and you got your eye on that?
Yeah.
And we're under,
Yeah,
okay, at 100% reimbursed,
yes,
okay?
that's
Yeah, I think
knowing this so far.
Yep.
yeah. I think the only part that changed was originally we thought the electric pole was going to come down outside the house and that was going to be part of the demolition cost, but it's not coming down because it's connects to Rushes. Power comes from there and I think Comcast transformers on there. So originally that pole was going to come down as part of the demolition, but it's not coming down now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay,
Reimbursing you for that FEMA?
State of Vermont. This is not a FEMA. So that's huge difference.
wicked.
All right, now we have. Handing, grinding and recycling. Lump sum cost for the above scope of work will be $43,995. So this one's in the middle.
And grinding and recycling,
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Okay.
No different packets. Union Dane, apparently. All right, description of project, demolished flood damaged structure located at 89 Main Street, dispose of all trash and debris associated. Septic, well, fill basement, grade site, seed mulch. To meet federal mobilized equipment, $36,200. Previous demos, they gave.
Any idea who performed the site work on the River Road? Was it any of these companies?
It could have been, it was through, Rearc is the company I could find out. They're like the general contractor.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just curious. Okay,
So those are the bids.
Ed, obviously you haven't seen these yet.
Right,
So. Let me just read this, request for proposal real quick. Did you heard the numbers? Isn't that an enormous change?
It is, yeah.
I don't know. Did you talk individually with all these contractors?
I did, but not like in any depth. I
Right.
gave them the information and I reached out to VEM.
Yeah.
If there was any other additional information, so then I added some information about utilities being capped and.
And they all got this. This is obviously.
Yeah, so then I revised this and sent it, so everybody's had it.
I think a big difference is Randy DeRoche's been in the house before. He's looked at demolishing it before. He obviously has a lot more information about what's there than probably the other three contractors. I don't know if they sent people to town, Ed, to look at it or how they actually went about doing it. But I think, like I said, I know DeRoche is, we've talked with him in the past and he's been inside. He obviously has been there for years, knows a lot more about the house. I can see where that bid would be significantly different than some of these other ones who may have never seen the house, never been inside, see pictures, right, of the outside, but I don't know how much else they know about the house. And I think that might be maybe one of the reasons that his is so much lower than the rest, is just because he has so much more knowledge about it than the other three contractors.
That's logical. Yeah.
Yeah, and my understanding is they're not going to remove the septic tank. They're going to crush it in place and leave it there.
That's what's.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what's required. So I'm assuming the other companies have done similar work in the state, but you just don't know what they know versus what Rainey would know, being so familiar with the town and the location.
Okay. So you'd be comfortable with that?
Me?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, like I said, I mean, we've talked to him before and he knows his way around it and kind of have a vested interest in being sure it's done well because his business is right next door. So
No, that's true.
I think we have one of the companies online. I don't mean to put them on the spot, but they're
Okay.
well. Is that Catherine? If you had any comments or questions? So I give them a chance at least to ask.
Yeah, I see she was on there.
Not now.
she's still on mute.
Hello.
Hi, Catherine. I didn't know if you had any questions or comments or anything.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
to check in, Kathy.
Yeah, Chuck speaking here. I'm not so sure the whole bid was apples to apples. It really wasn't broke down completely. As you see, we had 80,000 in the disposal, the landfill cost.
Which wasn't mentioned on there. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
I'm
why,
not-
Carrie.
I'm just not sure. And I know you got the lowest bid, Rainey.
How you going to
We know the
dispose of it, though?
building. My brother-in-law, Kathy's brother, has the apartment next door. I don't know, being the bids that far apart would make me wonder if we're apples to apples on this. It's because I assume we are responsible for the dump fee.
Is that not correct?
Is that correct?
Yes, for the disposal, yeah, and I did, everybody got the same request for proposal. And I did okay all this with VEM to see if it was right, who I was working with. I'll just throw that out there, so.
I'm sure Scott knows that the dump fee is way out there. I mean, I'm sure Scott knows that the tipping fee alone per ton is
Ridiculous.
not even in that low bid, Carrie.
Yeah,
The one way under.
yeah, I don't know, why they're all so far apart. They do.
Well, I don't see any disposal fee in there of the building itself. You've mentioned the sewer, but not the actual building and the materials. Where's that going?
Yeah, where's the material
Where are you
going?
dumping it?
Being for the state, it has to go to landfill.
I don't know if you've checked the tonnage, but it's gone up quite a bit. So we've done the homework. We're not gonna give out our information.
No, we're not
but
arguing. I was concerned that the bids are so far apart.
They're a lot way apart.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering, like I say, apples to apples, if they have the disposal fee to the landfill in there.
And then you're gonna have to fill in the basement and such. So you're gonna have to truck new
Yeah.
material in there. You can't use, you gotta bring in fresh material. So, I mean, if you think about some bids, how are you gonna factor all that in at that cost?
No, we know Rainey, we know Drushy's. We don't know nothing
It's
against
nothing against
nothing
anybody.
against them. It's just
We're just
I'm
wondering.
not sure we're apples to apples. Most state bids that I have done, they're listed, they're broke down, so every contractor bidding
I don't know what that means.
knows what they're bidding at. Like
Mhm.
it's like it's broke down each section.
Mhm. Yeah, nobody has the breakdown like you do. They have a list of what they're doing.
Yeah, per scope of work or whatever that is, but
Maybe shop out and learn what the tipping fee is.
What does remove C and D waste using certified waste hauler mean? Any idea what that means?
C and D to the landfill.
What is C and D? Construction.
Construction and demolition debris.
Yeah, yeah. Usually concrete and demolition, yeah. And there's a lot of stone under that house. There's those large granite pieces of rock that are underneath the house. So that'd be that's a very heavy load. That's a very heavy load.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just my biggest concern, that we're all not on the same
Mhm.
page in a bid. Any state or anything I've ever dealt with, they're broke down in quantities. So people know, the contractors bidding are more on a equal page. But I'm good. I'm a Coventry taxpayer. If you want to do that for 25 grand, you have at it. But in the future, because I know the town garage is coming up and whatnot, but there should be a list of things by the engineer or whatever.
Hey, Ed, maybe you should check with Lisa Cobb tomorrow and see if there's anything in particular they're expecting to see in the documents, because you'll have to turn in the records when you turn in the receipt for payment, and maybe they have a sample or a previous one or something to be able to share that says this is exactly the information they're looking for in order to approve it, because you definitely don't want to turn in something that doesn't get approved for repayment. Yeah.
I can do that again, but yeah, that's exactly what I did. I asked
Yeah.
her anything that would, a breakdown that would help the contractor, and any information I received from her, I put in here, so,
That's what she gave you?
yeah.
Because I would think they'd be wanting to also see permits, permits to dispose, permit to haul, all that kind of stuff too, as part of the contract.
Yeah, the landfill has to see
Yeah.
that asbestos has been removed and
Right, the certificates on that, yeah.
yeah.
Sure, I'll reach out to her again, but yeah, I gave whatever information she gave me.
Well, he is the neighbor. I think Carlene's right. He knows certainly the property. They were all given the same request for proposal. They've given us their bid. And so I don't see a reason not to accept it. Do you?
And I don't know if any of these, I mean, some of that stuff could go in somebody's backyard as fill. They're not gonna pay that. We don't know what they're
And
doing.
all those things.
Yeah, the wood, the whatever, we don't know what they're doing with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure the state would accept that because of the grant process. It's gonna have to go for legal disposal through a licensed facility. I'm pretty sure of that.
Oh, I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there is a huge difference between the two.
Okay. Well, what do you think?
I say go for it. This one.
I think knowing that it was sealed, knowing, Ed, that you worked diligently and Matt and everybody received the request for proposal. It's detailed in there enough for all of the issues. So I think that's what we should do. And then you're gonna have to rapidly follow up based on it already being the first.
Right.
To make sure that all these moving parts are in place and under the timeline, and you know, as soon as tomorrow morning, and they get things going, and if you're seeing any problems, we can do an emergency meeting if we need to.
Okay.
In order to keep things moving. Does that sound logical, Carleen, for you?
Yeah, and you know, if you offer the bid out and that's their bid, they've got to do all the work for that price, regardless of whatever loss they may take on their side. That's what they bid, that's what's going to be done. And if they understand all the details of the contract for that amount of money, then that's, you know, that's on them. It's not on the town.
Right.
Correct.
So, you know, some of that coordination for you, Ed, would just be to make sure that that the contractor, the demo contractor understands the abatement piece, and they're not in there prior to.
Sure, yep.
And those pieces are worked out appropriately.
Yep.
Carleen, obviously you're in all of the detail of this, so are you gonna be all set with private items, and is everything moved?
Yes, everything that we needed has been taken out. There was a few pictures left on the walls and stuff like that, but Steven's been over there and yeah, he's taken all that stuff, and everything's, water's disconnected, electricity's disconnected. Anything that was a propane tank is gone. Obviously, he didn't want any of that stuff laying around. Anything like that is all gone. So
Okay.
yeah, so we're good to go on Thursday. And just to let you know, our attorney is not going to come to the closing on Thursday, but she will be available for a phone call. You know, she's just in Barton, but she wasn't planning on actually physically being there on Thursday.
Okay, thanks.
So, but if anything happens, I'll be online, and then we can just call her if anything else is needed.
And you don't want a door jam with like the kids' heights on it or anything like that?
That's all gone. That's all gone. Yeah, all that goody stuff. You know, bullet holes in the wall, whatever else is there. You know, so we're good.
All right, well,
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Bowman,
Yes, thank you for your time.
Yes.
Carleen.
Thank you. You guys have a good week.
Hey, you too.
okay,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I make a motion to accept the bid for demolition and removal of the property located at 89 Main Street from Dureshi's Bulk Services of Coventry for a total of $24,850.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, no, doesn't have to be said, but the closing's not till Thursday,
Right,
so that's part of that whole conversation.
yep,
Nothing happens there.
right. Yeah, that's why they can't do the abatement on the asbestos until after else.
Right, so we're really getting the contractor squeezed on time, so.
So are they ready to start on Friday or Monday to get the asbestos out, whatever it is?
Yeah, as soon as it's done, they said they'd get in, so.
Okay, the ink's dry, go.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping it's at least by early next week, so.
okay, all
Good.
right.
Mr. Chair, do you have a copy of the documents now, the public record? I just sent you an email, Ed, to see if you can send them unless I can get them now.
Four.
The bids.
The bids.
Yeah, we'll give you copies of them.
Yeah, I could use.
Yep. Absolutely. Sure.
We'll make them after the meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Next, we have paving 2026. I did have a couple documents there for you to look at. And you have both of the sealed bids from both companies. But from all states, I threw in just what they came up with, their tonnage and everything. They gave that to me ahead of time. That's not the actual quote.
Okay, okay, that's a change name.
Yeah, so you could look at it.
Gotcha. Yep.
It used to be what? Oh, Hutchins.
Hutchins.
And the other document you have, I emailed to you a while ago, but Norm from Fight has some conversation stuff when you're ready, and so I brought that to you too, so you could look at it.
All right, this one is from Pike. And that's the same thing, I think. We've got a grand total for machine pay various roads, Webster Road, Cleveland Road, Piet Road. Total of $322,562.50. Alright. All right, Allstate Construction. Same three roads, $298,324.
Gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Well, I'll start, I guess. You know, so we measured these and I had guys double check my footage to make sure. Because we use an electronic device to measure roads
Okay,
and they're not always super accurate. You know, you're running off GPS and whatever.
yeah,
So, so the footage, again, I come up with may be different than theirs. But, you know, and then I looked at these roads too for the width
yeah,
and the application. Figuring with, you know, my knowledge about this, what, you know, what a road could take for width and
Yeah.
for the thickness.
yeah,
So that's all listed in here. Our price includes installing gravel with the town's product. Okay, so.
For the edging.
Separate item, just, you know, it's built into the price per ton. So it's all included in price. And
you're talking about the edging, right?
correct, yeah. We use the town's product, town's got access to the gravel, that's included in here. And the other thing I'd like to add is, you know, to me, I think there should be a clear document. You know, obviously, what you talked about before this paving bid is, you know, there's some discrepancies in language. So, you know, sometimes it's a lot clearer if you use one document, whether it's, you know, company A, company B, to get everything apples to apples.
Right.
Right. Now, even if the discrepancy in tonnage, you know, and just like if you're bidding a state job, if there's discrepancy, there's always going to be field adjustments, you know, whether, you know, there's not enough tonnage to go there or there's more than enough, you know, then it can be a field adjustment on that. My opinion is, you know, that I think there should be documents. That you can see, you know, the quantities are fit.
Well, are you doing all the tons?
Yep,
Yeah.
because that one's total.
Again, these are very close, you know, tonnage is very close, it's not
Yeah.
a big difference, you know,
Yeah.
the application might be different, but. It's just my experience in the past where, you know, sometimes. People just look at the bottom line and not really look at all the, you know, all the factors in there, so. But again, this one, very close to tonnage is, you know, pretty close.
Yeah, it's close. So this is, if we choose to do this. And we go to town meeting to get approval from the voters. And they say we only want to do. The top coat on Webster Road, or they only want to do the top coat and one other road. Will that affect anything because the job gets smaller?
I can't speak for other contractors, but I can speak for mine, you know. If you were going to do just the small stuff, yes.
Mhm.
But if you pick Webster Road, let's say 1,800 tons, our price would stay the same. It's when you start going from 1,800 to 200 tons.
Mhm.
You know, when there's a big difference in tonnage like that drives the price up. You're gonna be there, you're gonna spend a day, you got a day's rate, you know, 2 days rate, whatever.
I think what's been our norm is, we put it specifically with that number.
Mhm.
So it's an up or down vote.
Mhm.
If there wants to be a larger conversation, you have to kind of come back to the contractor and say,
Mhm. Yeah.
if they don't want, if there's not an appetite this year to spend that much money, then they're gonna vote no.
That's right.
And then we think about it again for next year, but to get into that weed of, it is very difficult, not giving these guys enough time to adjust.
And there's also language in there, and there's anyways that, there's an AC price adjustment. What does that mean? That means that the index floats every month. It's regulated by the state of Vermont. This is based on today's index. Now, when you come to do the work in May, April, or June, doesn't matter, there may be a difference in price. It doesn't vary a lot, well, except for back in, 2008, where things really went to the roof. But typically it doesn't vary that much, but there is a variance. So, let's say that you look at the price per ton, the price is $99.25. That price, if the index goes up, could be 101. It's not a big difference, but it could be a difference. Does it, what we call it, AC price adjustment.
So I remember,
We didn't put it in there. We
right,
locked it in for the whole year.
that's what I was just gonna say, because we're asking taxpayers, right, to give us an amount of money. And if they give us that amount of money, that's the amount we're gonna spend.
Right.
We're not
Yep.
spending any more, so either we're gonna have one road that's partially done, or
Usually if you have one that has a fluctuation like that, you figure it out and you just have to adjust and you get a thinner road. No one really knows,
yeah,
but we just locked in the rate for this contract.
okay.
So again, going back to the document, that's where a clear statement in the document would be great to the contractors, so they both know. It's just a verbiage like that, that's really.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
I get it. You're gonna keep teaching us all this stuff, you guys.
Well, someday I'm gonna retire. I am getting older.
I hear you.
The only big difference is Webster Road in length. 1,100 feet difference.
It's because we topped up to Canal Road already. So if you measured it right from
That's right.
that intersection, because I had to redo this.
That's already top coated
It's
across the
already
bridge.
up to-
Yeah, up across, past the motor.
So I took 1,100 feet off from that, because that already has 2 coats on the intersection.
That's correct.
Because the first bid that I put was screwed up.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and redo it Friday. Because I talked to Nate with the.
Yeah, because we had just done the basement,
Yeah.
a couple years ago.
It came up to like 2,050 tons for that, then I had to readjust it down to like 1,900 or whatever.
Again, another statement should be added in there, where a contractor doesn't know.
She's got her calculator out, so she's ciphering.
That's the difference between the two. They're
Yeah.
close.
Uh,
You guys did Webster Road last year?
So the base coat this year on Webster, not all of those driveways and farm roads were reached in.
The intersection for the farm and where the guy has the round bales on this side, we put a strip.
Yeah.
We did the side road on the left, I don't know the name of it, a little bit further up on the left.
Yeah.
From the top to the bottom, but the driveways, because we did it one pass instead of 2 passes like on the lane road because of the crown situation, so there's no seam in the middle.
Right,
So now that's why, like in that bid, there's 42 tons of handwork, because we have to go back and do the 5 foot
Okay.
aprons. Unless you wanted to do 2 lanes up through there, but in my opinion, it comes out better without putting the seam in the middle, but we can do it the other way too. But we just put the handwork in there, just to do them like the state does, just.
Right.
Little.
So you'll do those little aprons
Yeah, that's fine,
into
yeah.
each of the driveways.
Yeah.
I don't care, whatever, you're the pro, so however you wanna do it, I just wanna make sure, cause I know that some of that didn't get done on the base coat.
No, the base coat, that's why in there was, Nate said he wanted 4 to 5 foot aprons on all the drives and field drives.
Okay.
So that's what that 42 tons of handwork was.
Gotcha. All right.
I figure out where Cleveland Road is. What's up
Cleveland Road.
above, oh, I know where it
It's
is.
above the.
Above the bridge and goes to Brownington.
Yeah, so they'd go into the town.
Mhm.
That might be one too that we might wanna make sure we know where the town line is again.
I went to the sign that said around
Right.
Brownington, but
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where it is, because we had to come back and do 100 feet over here.
Yeah.
Irisburg.
So we'll take care of that. Horizons, is that who did that for us?
Somebody did, because we had to go do a little piece.
I think it was Horizons did
Yeah,
a
East Main
couple,
Street.
a couple of,
Surveys.
surveys for us to make sure that
The
we-
same thing happened on River Road, because we
it
had
did.
to change the length of that.
Yeah, so the Cleveland Road, we're
Cleveland
gonna wanna reach out to Horizons, and get them to do that work anytime,
Okay.
for it's, cause it's the Brownington Coventry line there,
Okay.
and the other one is just nothing.
Do you wanna wait until it's approved? Before we do that? Depends on how far they're booking too.
Well, it needs to be done. We found some pretty significant discrepancies,
Mhm.
already, so, I mean, their work was very inexpensive. I thought,
Mhm.
for
Good.
what it was, so. I don't. It's straightforward work. To me, both of these companies are the best, and so I haven't had any issues with quality of work of you.
Mm-mm.
With either of the companies over the years, you guys are both top notch and you're both local, and so it's, for me, it's sort of at that spot where it's just the money, it's the taxpayer.
Mhm.
It's a $24,230 difference. Real money. What do you think?
No, that's where I was going too.
Yep.
They're both sound
Were
really
the
good.
quantities the same?
Quantities were, tonnage, you mean?
Yeah.
What was the tonnage difference?
32 and 34, so just a couple 100 ton different. Less than 200 ton.
All states had more tonnage. All states was 3,418, Pike is 3,250. So the tonnage is a little.
I put more tonnage in there to try something different on one of the roads, on the Webster Road. You'll see it's an 1 3/4 type 4 top. Last year we did an 1 3/4 half-inch top. To see what you guys thought. Cause I like the type 4 finish better than the type 3, but we can put the type 3 if you want.
What's the
What are
difference?
the, yeah, what are the different?
It's cheaper for us, but I think type 4 is better. Like the type 3 is cheaper to produce, but I like the finish of type 4 better, so. I went with the same depth as we did last year, the 1 3/4, so that's why there's more tons in there.
Well, the price is gonna be the same, so let's make that decision on our pricing, and then
Yeah.
the detail of that, if that's an option that they're giving us, if we go there.
Yeah, we can
have
put
those
down
going.
the type 3 like we did last year.
Yeah.
But I think if I was you get a better deal if you put down the type 4, just in my opinion. But hey, whatever you want, it's cheaper for us, if you don't.
Okay.
I put it in there just to try it, see what you think.
Right,
It's a tighter finish.
right.
Yep, didn't understand a bit of that.
Okay.
So one of them, the type 4 is a 3/8, and the type 3 is a 1/2 inch.
So like the
The size of the stone.
stone in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it, I mean, there's a little,
Yeah.
just,
The smoother ride, the smaller the stone.
sometimes.
Sometimes.
Less segregation, that's why I did it, I looked at what. That's all.
Little
Which
tight- little
means-
tighter.
Chris looked like he had a question. You're set? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm set.
I'm good.
All right, I say we go with Allstate.
We go with that.
Norm
Sure.
Pat, alcohol.
I would agree.
Norm Pat,
If you don't mind, Jeff.
It's a no-brainer.
You got the same names.
that's pretty simple.
I'm sorry. Father, son.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. No fighting when you get home. All right, I make a motion to approve Allstate Construction's bid of $298,324 for top coating Webster Road and paving Cleveland Road and Piet Road pending approval at town meeting day.
Perfect.
And that includes the shoulders also, if they ask, it should be.
Yeah, it's on there.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good
have a good day.
for the towns.
Yep,
Thank you.
I wanna get her. Do it.
Let's do the father and son.
That's what they said, yep. Yeah. Those are all everything.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, same as with the last item, I would like to have copies of the bids.
Got it.
Oops, there's part of it.
Anything there from you, David, or just gonna be included in the next one?
Okay,
I don't know if you had anything to discuss on that.
and it didn't quite morph into a capital discussion.
Okay.
All set?
Yep.
All
All
right,
set.
so on to more David, treasurer report, David Barlow, and I put in the documents there for you to go over. First page is October treasurer's report.
Yep, you're up, Dave.
All right, so I invite your attention to that report. I'll start off by saying at the end of October, we were about 3/4 of the way through tax collection season. So that has an impact on what you see on the report. And the balance is reflected on October 31st. If you were to add up the amount of cash that we had on hand, like 3 million, you'll see there, combining the cash accounts, and then the fund balances are about 1.3 million underneath that. We had about 1.3 million in education tax collected. It's not ours to keep, so it's not reflected in fund balance, but is on hand and at the end of October. Had a bit of movement amongst the cash accounts between the two of them to get better rates. So you see a lot of that reflected in the transfers on the cash account side. Normal month in terms of expenditures in the general fund and the highway fund. We did receive the Casella payment in October. So you see that arrive. And I did do a transfer in that revenue line to the highway fund in coordination with Melanie and the way she wanted us to proceed on that. So You see that on the revenue side of the highway fund. A transfer in there, 319,900. Of course, we spent more than that, but nevertheless, it showed up. And that spending that was more than that was all paving. So we paid a Hutchins paving bill, which also included the rest of what was left in the roads infrastructure fund on the restricted fund list below. You see that $79,201.21. That was used to pay a paving bill, leaving that fund at zero balance. Nothing in particular to report about the investments, just kind of normal process there for the month of October. And pending your questions, that's my report.
Dave, the reappraisal fund, we were a couple of meetings ago, we entered into,
Last meeting.
that was, okay, so we
Last meeting.
so we accepted that work,
Mhm.
and that was only at the tune of about what? 70,000?
I think so.
So what are your thoughts on that balance, Dave?
Yeah, it's a little high probably. There's another factor in that to consider too, which is also good news, that the state is now going to do, once we submit the right form, the state will do the reappraisal on the landfill and the WEC power plant. And they're already doing the rest of the power stuff. So that would remove all that high dollar stuff out of our reappraisal basket, and the state would take that on.
That's great news. Where does that come from, Dave? Who's giving us that?
That came from the PVR director at the last conference we had on that kind of stuff, Jill Remick.
Okay, awesome.
And also our regional advisor too, whose name's going to pop into my head soon after I finish. But anyway, it's a real program. We just, now that we've set a date and have a plan, we can get that piece of paper in there. And
so, what do you think about, just teasing this around here a little bit, if we're at $268,000 that's sitting there, and we're looking at an anticipated $72,000 expense, and then we're probably good for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Should we be looking at a line item for town meeting to move some of that money and reduce that line?
sure.
How much of that money came from the state?
I'd have to run the numbers on that. Not a chunk of it did, but not a huge chunk.
Okay, so we'd have to leave that much there for sure.
Yeah, less than what you're going to spend on your reappraisal.
Mhm.
I'm just guessing. They're giving us about 6,000 a year, so it takes 10 years to get to 60.
Mhm.
So Dave, if you're sort of fundamentally in agreement with that thinking, could you put pen to paper on that in the next little bit for our, the creation of our town meeting? To see what you think a reasonable, responsible number would be for requesting. I would say probably that amount of money would go to long term, but I mean, just think about that a little bit. Now's the season. If we're looking, it seems like quite a bit of money just sitting there.
Okay.
Do you agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Because where is it sitting? Is it in investments right now anyway?
No, it's in the cash accounts.
Okay,
um,
so it's getting a few percent, not
yeah, Dave,
10%.
Right, for sure. And it's gonna be a long time, like I said, you've got the money to satisfy this,
Mhm.
and then it's gonna be enough. So let's let Dave kind of bat
Work on
that one around for us. Um, so I've been out of the loop, Dave, a little bit or most of it on, the long-term investments as of late. How's it going, generally speaking? Are you satisfied? Is the group satisfied with the performance, with the communication, with all of what we expect to be having provided to us from the new investment company?
I would say in general, yes. We have a little bit more reshaping to do on the stock piece of it, but otherwise, it's going fine. They did. Eric in particular did a reasonably good job on the recent cash back and forth that we did um, with the tax collection money.
Okay, great. And that wasn't a fee. That money was no fee.
That remains to be seen.
Okay,
mean, they don't specifically charge per transaction or anything, but I haven't seen them levy a fee on us yet. But I'm kind of surprised. I thought they would do that quarterly, but I'll ask them.
okay, yeah, please do. Because that was a big part of the discussion we were having, which the cash account, at least for now, was staying there. And one of the pieces of discussion was that there wouldn't be no defeat to that. So let's make sure there isn't. And how about the projections work? Have we moved along that road at all? Have we gotten any drafts?
I have the model that Eric constructed in Excel, and we have played back and forth with that quite a bit. I'd say it has its uses, but it's not the ultimate answer. So
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's an A+ piece of work, but I think it's important for us to keep our eye on that ball, to have it as a continued conversation piece, which is, with all of us looking at the future, with us looking at the built-in costs of decisions we make today, and how much it's going to cost to fund the town 20 years from now, right? That whole conversation, something on paper, that knowing that it's going to be a fluid document, there needs to be a document. And it really should be designed and prepared for us by a professional, and annually, if not more, adjusted. So I really want to keep pushing us on getting a draft working document, so we can all put our hands on it. I know the finance committee is probably doing that, and I appreciate all of that. And it'd be nothing that we have to accept, but it'd be a good worksheet for us all. I'd really like to see it if I can, when you're ready to. Because I'd like to have us, with something in town meeting this year, in the town report.
okay.
However that looks, whatever you think is reasonable, that gets it in there, that's a conversation piece, so that we can begin to really talk about the day that will be coming and taxes come back.
He said it.
Well,
Yeah, yes, more than likely they will one day.
they will. So, right, I like to keep us pushing on it. I know you have a lot, and I appreciate it. I thought Melanie was gonna say something twice, because she looked the way she's looking right now. What were you
Oh, I
biting?
was close.
What were you biting your lip over, Melanie?
I don't know. I happened to be in Nemrick and I was looking at the receipts over the last 8-10 years or so in reappraisal. And I was sort of relating it to this fund balance policy that we're going to talk about, which is whose money did you use first? Was it restricted money that came in from the state, or was it the money that your voters gave you to deal with all of the various legal issues involved with the assessment of your property? And so David now has the challenge of going, all right, how much of that money really is state money? And how much of it is really the funds that your town of Coventry entrusted in you to go ahead and do the reappraisals in the future? I think it's amazing that PVR has finally sort of taken the lead and going to do that process for you, because the legal bills that you've paid over the years are pretty exorbitant. And I'm really surprised that they put that on you to ever have to defend in the first place. But so that's really exciting news that you're possibly going to be able to reduce that fund balance and turn it into something else once David, or if he needs help, once we really figure out what that number is, it's reasonable to call not the states.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree 100%. So unfortunately, Dave, you get to try to take a swing at that one. I'm sure it's doable, but it'll cause you some stress, I'm sure.
Yeah. Something will happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, David.
Let's see.
Well, we have David also on that, going back to this, unbalanced concept that we're going to talk about. David just highlighted that he exhausted the balance in that road infrastructures fund. And I was looking at the budget to actual in highway going, okay, well, they underspent compared to what the voters had in the budget by about that 72,000. And I'm like, okay, so they underspent, but then I saw you decided to take the money out of that capital fund. And so I was looking back, trying to find the minutes where the board said, David, get rid of those funds. And I didn't know whether that was a result of a conversation or whether it was a priority of use, or how that came about, because it's really relevant to the next agenda topic.
It was in a board meeting.
Yeah. Recently
Too. Yeah.
it was for paving, I think, David.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's the last Hutchins paving bill invoice.
Yeah. We just because that wasn't that particular amount of money, Melanie, was not considered to be part of the highway regular budget. The paving was a standalone article at town meeting, and then how we paid for it, I think, is something that we always figure out how we're going to do that. But it's tough, right? Am I right, David?
Well, I'd say we have a different perspective perhaps on what is a budget item versus not a budget item. But once the town approved it, it does go on the budget. So, but how you actually pay for it, I think, is up to you in terms of which fund and which combination of funds you draw from.
Right. How much sense does that make, Melanie?
So that's exactly my point. I think that so when you warn an article to say, instead of $400,000 of the Casella or landfill fees going towards the overall highway budget, we're going to add 600,000 in paving and make that $1 million, your highway budget becomes $1 million. That's just the way that works functionally. So now you have a situation where you've underspent what is essentially an adopted budget that was supposed to come out of the landfill fees in theory, but you instead chose to take some of those funds out of that infrastructure fund, which, if you were following, a policy in normal restricted order, you would get rid of all those reserve funds first. And so that one happens to be gone now, but it's just a really good example of of how if you don't have a policy, then you don't really know what the order is, and now you kind of have a budget difference now. But that's fine.
Okay. So thank you. You got to keep educating us to the terminology. So I've traditionally thought about it very simplistically without an accounting experience. What I've always thought about is when we go to town meeting and we have article number 1, it is, we've been doing two different budgets there. One of them being the highway. We asked the town voters to approve so much money for general budget and then so much money for the highway budget. Then we have other articles to follow, one being a paving. So for me, just the way I think, not as an accountant, but that's why I use the word, well, that wasn't in the highway budget as most of us think about the highway budget. It was an amount of money that was designed to be expensed for a particular project outside of that highway budget. And I know that's not proper accounting words, but that's how we've always thought about it. So in order to continue to advance our thinking, comes you and David to keep, coming back at us and keep rethinking that and how to make our actions fit the accountant's language so that everybody's always on the same page. So that it's less confusing to people. But does that make any sense, Melanie? That's why I said that way.
Yeah, and so the in a financial reporting sort of framework, the natural classification of paving is in the highway department. That just sort of happens. Just like, the 250,000 that I think you reduced it last year, that goes to the nonprofit Coventry
Town foundation.
Yeah, so that's general fund money. And you might not have thought about it that way, but you're saying we're going to use this amount of our landfill fees to go ahead and make this appropriation, and it naturally falls into the general fund budget. And you might not think about it as the budget,
Right.
but that is the way that ends up working when you warn those articles.
Right. Yep, that makes sense.
And then David installs it in Nemrick, and then you get to look at your budget versus actual and say, okay, are things where they should be? Or, oh, we haven't made that payment to them yet. Because if it sort of lived somewhere else, you wouldn't really be able to keep track of it. So that's why they get naturally categorized to where they're supposed to live.
And I bet you're going to be talking about that in a little while with us.
You mean just now, or?
Don't we have some policy work coming up?
Yep, it's next.
Oh yeah, I was next, so I was sort of, I think
All right. Good.
done.
All right.
Guys, roll right into the next topic.
All right, you guys are good.
Yep.
So we have fund balance policy follow-up with Melanie. And I printed off documents she wanted me to give you. You both should have them.
Yeah, right here.
Yep.
And the copy that Ed gave you probably doesn't have yellow highlights on it, but it's probably got some grayed out sections. And I had given you this original version 1 because it was on your auditor's recommendation of a policy to adopt. So it was, in part to keep them happy and get rid of that comment. But I had expressed to you that I didn't agree with the standard template that comes out. And a lot of reasons is just what you did with paving. And so what I did was the first sort of edit that I made was under the committed fund balance, because that's where your voter approved reserve funds and such live, is considered committed. I said, the town's committed fund balance includes several of your capital reserves, and you're going to utilize them strategically, however you feel fit to achieve your goals. And I think automatically saying that, oh, if you've got 70,000 in paving left that you have to spend it, isn't necessarily the way that you prefer to run those types of expenses. So I think that calling out that you're not going to just follow a spending order because a policy says so was where I was getting at with that. I clarified that the unassigned fund balance does not include amounts held in the long-term investments. And I didn't know what your thought was on the long-term investment funds. Your auditors have appropriately, they have called this unassigned fund balance. All of your, 14 million or whatever it is now is basically considered completely available. You can use it anytime you want for whatever you want, is the way that that the auditors view these funds. And I'm feeling like you would probably disagree with that.
Say that again. Make that statement again.
Your auditors consider the investment monies to be unassigned, which means they are available for you to use for whatever you would like.
No, I don't like that
Yeah,
thinking.
I didn't think you'd love that. So I didn't know when you started the process of investing, like what did that reserve look like when you established it? Like what did the article say? Do you remember?
Oh goodness, I have no idea. That's way back. We'd have to do a lot of homework on that one. We could figure that out.
Yeah.
And maybe we should.
Yeah, I think that I'd like to have it be in a different hierarchy, and to have rules around when you can access it. If you had a $5 million disaster tomorrow, could you access that money? Yeah, I think you legally could. Or would you go out and get a loan? I don't know what you would do.
We would have an emergency town meeting. I think that's the answer. We would have a town vote. I think maybe it's unwritten, but I think I've never heard anybody at this table or any other official in the town ever think or have the thought that long-term funds or anything other than a town meeting agenda. That they're not like those restricted funds where they've been put in a category for the select board to use as necessary. Those have sort of always been off limits, and as they should well be. So however we want to work through that conversation is a very important one for us to do.
I was gonna say, we definitely need something because I hadn't thought about it. A board in 10 years could, I don't know, build a new community center. Don't
Right.
like this one, so I'm gonna build a new
Yeah.
one.
Right.
Well, you're not going to ever get yourself into a situation where the action that created it couldn't uncreate it. So if your voters came to you and said it at town meeting, I don't want that in there anymore, you wouldn't have a say in that. You would have to revert it back to general fund balance. I don't know what you do with it, but just having a purpose and sort of a statement around it. Normally when you create a new fund, and I think Scott has broadly said, creating more of these reserve funds isn't sort of in the cards. But when you create them, you're supposed to say, this is what the fund's for, this is where the ongoing revenue is going to come from, and these are the qualified reasons why they can be used, so that everybody has an understanding of those factors, so that they know when you can spend them and why. So like you have a building and maintenance fund. I don't know if that means that if the light above you, bursts and you end up having to pay $50 to have it replaced, do you take it out of the building maintenance fund, or do you only reserve those types of expenses that are, say, over $10,000 comes out of that fund, things like that. So that, I think those are some sort of gates around those funds that could be written up.
Melanie, are you thinking possibly that it would be important for us to redefine at a town meeting? That's what I feel your lead there.
Yeah, I think if
She's probably right.
I don't know what the ability is to go back and find the original articles creating those funds to see if they were sufficient. I don't know what the practicality of that is. But I think that especially with your concerns about, you actually don't really want to go and spend large amounts of these reserve funds without asking the voters again, do you really want to spend this on, XYZ?
Right.
But then things, like I said, like the maintenance fund, maybe the voters are okay up to $50,000 or something like that, that if you need to do something. So I do think that if you're not aware of the constraints and the reasons it was created, how it's to be funded and how it's to be spent, then it would be good to reframe them. You can also shuffle the deck chairs a little bit like you're doing potentially with reappraisal. It's an opportunity to rename a fund. It's an opportunity to redefine a fund. If you think about possibly doing your capital planning in the future. And I told Ed if the investment committee made their way to that kind of a discussion, they could feel free to invite me to that just to talk things through if they needed any kind of help. But I think that would help the board feel more comfortable with spending the money and having the gates around it if you establish them.
So I see one as an easy fix and one as more complex. I think the easy one is the refresh on long-term investments. Sort of like put that one aside, stand alone by itself, which is we do not use it, we never have used it, and we never shall until the day comes where it's needed for operational expensing. Is our current mindset, but that's not the words we would use, but I think everybody understands what I'm saying. So I think as an aside, that seems like an easy one for us to navigate this year for town meeting as a standalone.
Mm-hmm.
And Melanie and David could probably very quickly put their heads together and create an article that would satisfy all that language and pass it back and forth a couple times. And I think that one would be easy. As far as the other restricted funds, that's a more complex conversation. Again, we've had for years, which is, it seems like Melanie's absolutely right, which is, each select board that comes in and out of here kind of has a different idea on those funds and what they're used for and how to use them. Certainly we have a different one than was being used a few years ago. And there never has been that written script that we had to go change. It was just our new thinking, generally, I guess. And so I think Melanie's nailing it there, trying to get us into here's the rules on what you've created or what you think you've created. And then during that process, we have to flush out, do we want it to be that way? Do we want all these reserve funds? Do we want to take the opportunity, as she said, and reduce them, eliminate some? Now we've got some down to zero balance. We've been having that discussion to just eliminate them because we're going back each year with specific articles, right? That's why we did it, so that we get permission to buy a truck or pave a road. It's not just a whole bunch of money thrown into big piles. And so does that make sense, Melanie? Could you and David maybe work to craft us something to think about with long-term investment and what an article would look like for that. And then, we can devote more time specifically, and we can all do our better homework if we know we're on the hot seat to have some of those restricted reserve fund balance discussions. I've been on it for a long time by saying I think that we should have a couple, but I think we have too many, and I don't think we've had any rules, and so I think everybody knows where I stand, but everybody's got to put their own thoughts and opinions on the table, and then let Melanie and David do their skills and give us what we're asking for, or drafts of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just trying to fine tune it and putting one foot in front of the other and making some progress. Getting some things written down is good. So where we got off script there was just talking about the fact that the auditors do consider your long-term investments to be unassigned fund balance. So when it comes to the section 3.0, where you outline the order of when you're going to use it, restricted fund balance, I can get around going first, right? So those are your grants where if you spend the money, you got to grab your match and whatever you need to do. And so those funds are generally pretty easy. And I think you'll actually find that the reappraisal money is restricted if you intend to keep any of it. But it's used first in this situation. So I think that works. Committed fund balance, like I said, I changed that instead of saying that it's used after restricted to just say that you're going to decide on a case by case as when to use your committed fund balances. And then use last is the unassigned fund balance after all the restricted and assigned fund balances are used, but I did not include committed. So that's just a GASB hierarchy, and it tries to let people know the order that the money is supposed to be spent, but it really is trying to just take all the constraints off money so that you have more unassigned fund balance, and you don't have that need for that unassigned fund balance because you've got a substantial amount. It's sort of like how you make your rainy day fund is by going ahead and spending the funds that have other qualifying monies to cover it. So the second part of the policy, which is also part of the audit recommendation, talks about minimum fund balance. And again, I wrote in there that the minimum fund balance calculation, the unassigned fund balance of the general fund, does not include the amounts held in long-term investments. So that was the edit that I made there. And what this does is basically outline what you should really just have hanging around for unanticipated expenses of the general fund nature. It could also be a highway fund if you need to transfer some money over in there. And the policy that a lot of the GFOA uses is 2 months worth of general fund operating. And I think I did the math quickly, and that was like 185,000. And that's actually, when you combine your current highway deficit with your current general fund balance, it's actually somewhere close to there now. But we don't know what's happening with the highway fund balance just because we don't have that FEMA reimbursement yet. So, but it's just a target so that in case you get a little tight on cash, then you make a plan to go ahead and replenish it. And I didn't really think that you had much to say about that one last time, or whether you really even, considered minimum fund balance, because it seems like whenever you recognize a potential need, like the flood recovery fund that you establish, you're like, well, if that ever happens again, we're just going to have a little money set over here. And so you might feel like, you have the funds, but going back to my question of, what happens if something happens? Do you get into those to the long-term investments? And the answer is likely a town meeting. you don't want people saying to you, well, why didn't you put some aside? They're like, because we're trying to put it in long term. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have a bunch of fund balance and then be trying to save up for your long-term investments. But generally speaking, like I said, this is a GFOA policy, and the 2 months worth of general fund budget is what they strive for. And I think you're pretty close to that now.
So I understood probably 90% of that. And I guess my response would be, we're fortunate that we've had David for a number of years, who has been thinking at those things all the time and has strategically not allowed anything bad to happen. He's always paying attention to not only March, but all of the other things that we have going on, like trucks that are still out there waiting and paving bills that haven't come in yet, and moving money for a little bit better gain, and making sure that he always sort of knows that for us. Where we got to get better as a town is that the select board has to have a better understanding of that work, right? I think that's what Melanie's trying to pull us into, and I think it's great. We have to understand a little bit more about the language, and not just that we have all of these millions, but what they are and what they're for, and how to navigate the financial world properly. I think, and that's a lot of work, because this group's going to keep changing a lot. You're hitting all the marks, Melanie, and I really appreciate it, because that's why we found you, which is to help us sort of slowly, so we don't get our eyes twisted in knots. Piece by piece, learning and educating and getting Ed involved in a finance committee. So I think if we can just keep taking small bites at it, we're going to be successful in a year or two. It'll probably take us that long.
Yeah, that's actually the pace I've been going. Okay, this is a little slower but we're okay with slow. And like you said, David's watching the bottom line, and he's the one saying to you, you're spending more than you're taking in, and this just doesn't work, long term. And eventually, if that little bit of fund balance that you have goes away, then what are you going to do? You're not going to send a tax bill, and you don't want to have to access this other long-term investments, and you really don't want to take a loan, because that looks really bad. So I think that David's minding the shop and trying to make sure that you keep not spending more than you're taking in. And I think that as you go into the town meeting process, you have this budget of how much you believe you're going to take in the fees, and then you're trying to decide how to spend that substantially, but then what's left over you try to get into the long-term investments. And that's kind of a big picture. It's an unusual picture, because in a typical town, you're presenting a balanced budget. Unless you have a deficit, you're presenting a budget where the amount of revenue you're taking in equals the amount of money that's going out. And you're collecting the money from the taxpayers and spending it how you told them that you're going to. And here, you don't have quite as much control over the amount of revenue that comes in, and so you're at a disadvantage, because you just don't get it all. David's popping up. So I think Coventry is really unique in that regard, that you're not levying taxes for a balanced budget. You are deciding where to use anticipated revenues to meet the desires of your taxpayers, and obviously the needs of the town. So it's definitely very, very unique.
Okay, so for this fund balance and order of use policy, can we put it on the next meeting agenda? So I can really process it again and can call you, Melanie, if I have any, but I think it's pretty simple. I just want to read that few more times, and we could get that one done at our next meeting.
Yeah, so I've just kind of skimmed it here.
So that would probably be enough on that one. And the other one not to lose sight of is I don't know how, we're already in December, and Ed's gonna go crazy once all of that town report info starts landing on his desk. So, the sooner we could potentially have a draft of the language on however you think it could look for long term, the redefinition of that, the better. So we can at least in the next meeting, maybe think about it, talk about it one more time. And if we have to push it, we're already in January. So if we could do that, Melanie, that'd be a super big help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, but you have to ask a question that's, you can either vote it up or down, right? So the question that needs to be called, we'll form it. But I think just a recommendation, depending on what you have in there, having Monahan or Safari, I don't know which one you have, just take a peek at the warning, to make sure that those articles are good. Things got a little confusing on one last year. And if you have questions for me, I mean, don't feel like you can't pick up the phone and try to call me, and I'll give you a ring back when I'm available. If I'm not available at the time, Ed has my number, you have my number, and you can always send me emails and ask questions. And yeah, I think
that sounds good. Our sort of standard operating on that, Melanie, is we design the structure of that meeting. David does a lot of helping the town administrator, and then so we get the format and the concepts down, and then the attorney always gets that well in advance so that they can adjust our words and help us on the legal matters. So it'll happen with all of them, not just this one.
all right. I think next you have a purchasing policy.
Yep.
Yeah, so this started as just one piece I was talking to Melanie about that she asked me to check on, was the make sure it was right for FEMA. So I sent it to her, and she saw our old one that's on the town site, so we got to replace that once you're good with this one. So then she looked at the whole thing. She was kind enough to make some other edits. So I gave you the one with all the edits that she added, and then I gave you what that would look like after. So
did anything scare you, Melanie?
No, not at all. I had started by taking like your original policy that was online and converted it to Word and was going to move it to the new VLCT format. But then Ed said, "Hey, we've got this policy drafted, and we weren't sure if it had been reviewed or signed yet." And so he sent me what he had, and it was basically one of the most recent templates from VLCT, which is designed to help towns out in covering these types of things, especially the federal funds, and just trying to make sure that you're doing things properly to make sure that they won't deny you expenses just because there were some missteps in procurement. And so I think the only minor changes that we made were ones that a FEMA auditor brought up about designating who a purchasing agent was. It was just an odd comment, but I think it was maybe the town of Belvedere had it. So probably similar size town with similar road issues. And their auditor had carved that out. And then at the end, there was just sort of this straggling little piece about reimbursements that I mentioned might go into a personnel policy. But I think it's definitely more robust than the policy that you had before. And I would just say that before you get involved with something that has federal money, just take a quick peek through that. Just read down and be like, okay, do we have to check the debarment list? And do you know what the debarment list is? Those types of things. Just to make sure that when that auditor comes, that they can say, oh yeah, you did everything the way you were supposed to, and then they go away.
Okay,
Also, you'll probably notice at the top, the reimbursement part, Melanie mentioned it, but I need to add the piece there that talks about mileage and other expenses to the personnel policy. So this will just be the purchasing policy as the final document.
right,
And then I'll add that into the personnel, bring it to the next meeting for you, so.
okay. So you've already done a lot of work on this and Melanie's really gone through it, so are the two of you comfortable with the form that it's in here currently?
I am, yeah, actually I have to give credit. I think this was something Matt put together
He did,
at the
yeah.
beginning of this year.
Yeah,
And then I just was fixing one thing and I ran it by Melanie and she was kind enough to add in any edits. So that our reimbursement will be in the personnel policy.
makes sense.
And I mean, if you need more time to look at it, I mean, there is a place to sign there, but if you wanna.
We've been at this one for, or like you say, a few different times this year, so I'm fine with it the way it is. I'm more than fine now that you both, thank you, Melanie, have gone through there and made some smaller adjustments. I'm good. You
Not
are,
good, yep.
get it behind us.
I think I said this in an email, Melanie, but the only thing I did when I gave them the final copy was take out the thing for the personnel policy. All the other edits you had actually done, right? So. If that makes sense.
I gave you a strike version, so I don't know if you accepted that. And
Yeah, that's what I did. I just, I gave them the strike version and what it would look like after, but the only change I made was taking out the part that goes in the personnel policy.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And thank you both for doing that. That's very easy
Mhm.
for us to be able to visualize what's been changed.
And I can send you back the way it looks. It's your doc, you made the changes, but I can send it back just to make sure it looks good to go online and everything, so.
I'm good with it if you are.
I am.
Yep. Do it.
All right, I make a motion to accept the purchasing policy as presented.
Second that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just like that.
Thank you, Melvin.
Thank you.
I'm gonna run away. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you,
too.
Melanie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed, for all that work.
Sure,
Get that one behind us and get the next one, the other one next meeting.
sure, yeah, I'll get you the personnel policy, thank you. All right, next up, we have a GoGov update.
So Ed and I did a training last week. It was just
Yeah.
last week. Yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
to learn more about the GoGov. There's an app out there now. Wednesday, we're doing, marketing meeting of training. So we'll get like flyers, we'll get a QR code that people can scan to get the GoGov. So we've got like the school, the fire district, there's all links on it. And then, we'll get Nate and Jeff on board to learn how to use it and add alerts.
Yeah,
So it's coming along.
good. Thank you. It's all work.
So that's it with that. Just want people to know it's coming.
Yep.
Thank you. Move on to other business now. This is a continuation from the last meeting, the Alderbrook Road sign discussion. So I'm not sure how up to date you are on that, Scott, and give a little background, but.
Okay.
We had a resident come in that talked to Deb about, they were concerned about the Amish children on the road.
Yeah.
And the speed of traffic and everything, so, I looked into some signs, some pricing you had me get in the last meeting, Gary,
Mhm.
and we discussed that. And then Dan asked for some additional prices on some other signs. So I've got that and then just a continued discussion on it, so I can give you the prices first, or if you wanna start a discussion, whatever you want.
I wasn't involved in that one. I did get some communication on it. I think I was included in Deb's email. The issue was safety
Yeah,
for some of the children. And
I think instead of making out signs, I hand out safety vests. I mean, them guys wear black. I mean, I pretty near hit some one night. I mean, they're all wearing black, and kids. I mean, it's,
And they
I
walk,
know it's a religion and stuff, but I mean, you need more than just signs. These guys gotta wear some safety coloring or something. I mean, they shouldn't even be walking around at night.
and they walk with traffic, not against it.
You know, even like today, I mean, it's snowy out, the roads are slippery, they're coming out with a team of horses. With a manure spreader behind them, and they got another buggy behind them with four-way flashes on. The roads are slippery. It's like, you know, they gotta pick better days too. You know, it's crazy.
so, well, I was just gonna tell you from the last meeting, thank you,
Oh, yeah.
that, you had mentioned moving them closer. You guys discussed
Yeah, we had
that.
talked about, cause it's, the one on the Newport end is,
the what sign?
sign is fairly close, it's the Amish buggy. It's fairly close to the farm, but the sign on the Coventry Route 14 end. Is at the end of the road, so you see the sign and then you kind of forget about it, and then in a mile or mile and a half, you come across along to the two farms. So we had talked about maybe moving the signs, this sign closer.
And I
I
mentioned
don't-
that to the road crew, and one
Yeah,
of them did say that they're on the whole road all the time, so he said to
Mhm.
mention that to you, that they're not just close to their farm, you probably know that anyways.
but I think the biggest thing is the people walking from farm to farm. The kids are out there, you know, this big pulling a wagon,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Crazy.
so there's already signs, but the state on 14 going towards like Newport Center, Troy, added a sign that said for the next 7 miles. So that's something we could do too. I mean, I wouldn't want anybody telling me how to raise my kids, but we all know they shouldn't be walking on the roads, but we can't make them do
And
anything.
two farms are so close.
And
Too
Dan,
bad they couldn't build a runway right through the field.
in the summer, they do have a path. They still go on the
Well, they
road.
gotta go back and forth to that phone in the
Phone.
middle of the pasture. I mean, just make a walkway. I mean, the kids are gonna get. I hope they don't, but them kids gonna get hit. Gonna get hit.
So
Oh, sorry, I was gonna have a comment from Deb too, or from here.
that's.
Got her hand up.
Raise your
Hi,
hand.
Deb.
Hello. I was just gonna say that I had reached out to some of the other towns that do have the Amish within their towns as far as some of their considerations that they have done. And basically they had just stated that they have placed up the Amish signs like what we have done. You don't want those to be in too close proximity of where their actual places are located, because you want to be able to give the people driving the roads advance notice that they're going to be coming up onto them versus having the sign right at their farm and then boom, be right there. But they had stated again that they've placed up those signs, that honestly it was for those families, for that they really needed to go through and make the additional adjustments on their end in order to make their children be safe, if that's part of their customs for them to go on the road. That was just all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you, Deb. I was leaning, you know, that's where I'm at too. I'm sensitive to everything that we're talking about, but at the end of the day, right, it's their responsibility, just like it's your responsibility and mine to keep ourselves safe. I don't want.
I don't think it would hurt to add a sign,
Yeah, signage is fine.
but beyond that,
Signage
because
is good.
somebody came in and talked to Deb and thought, you know, we should, I don't know, do what, but we can't.
No.
We can't interfere.
So anything that you think is appropriate for signs or the road foreman, I think in this case, you can talk with him and it's. We don't care, do we? I mean, exactly how it looks.
I mean, it's
If you wanna add,
$100 and
yeah,
change, so.
if you wanna add another
also I
sign
think
in.
At least add another sign.
Okay, so
I mean-
another thing, Dan, I think you were gonna mention this, Dan did go talk to the family.
He did go talk to them.
And then, he basically said I don't know how to put this, they weren't really super concerned. They thought everything was fine. They were kind of oblivious to the situation. They thought everything was good. And then he asked me to get prices on like kids playing, like school signs, not school signs, but like the school
Kids in
uses.
the road or.
And then somebody mentioned, I think Nathan mentioned how you can get lights and stuff like that. So there's all this different stuff you can do. But like I gave you guys the quote there on small signs for children at play or whatever. That's like 135. But our road crew may have some of the stuff, so you just have to buy the sign. So
Sometimes that's a good thing that you point that out because sometimes the people who you may be willing or trying to help don't particularly want it. So unless they're here, right, and we're having that conversation with them for them, they may have a totally different opinion than what we have.
For sure, yeah.
So I think Deb's done a good job in talking to neighboring communities with folks. And we've already got signs. I was unaware of that actually when this all began, so that's wonderful. If we want to add another one, I think that's good.
I mean, unless they could tell the parents,
But-
the kids, if they walked at night, in the summer, the hours are long, so you can see them. Well, now with the hours being short and get dark, all they gotta do is carry a lantern, carry something so you can
Mhm.
visually kind of see that somebody's walking in the road.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably get their religion to wear a reflective vest, but they could carry a lantern.
Mhm.
Some people, when they run in the early mornings, they're wearing a headlamp. All they gotta do is carry a lantern.
Mhm. Yeah, they don't seem concerned, so.
No, they don't.
Yep.
Right, so Ed, just follow up with Nathan.
Yes,
And
maybe add another
whatever
sign,
you want to
maybe
do,
even
signs.
just a duplicate of what's there,
Yeah.
the Amish.
then
source
you'd
of
have like
buggy.
3 total on the road, or is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
I was almost under the impression the last time that you were gonna move one of the sign closer to,
Well, we had talked about it. I didn't pay close enough attention driving by this morning. Or at all, because, you see them and then you don't see them anymore.
Right, but if we're gonna add one in, it's
Mhm.
doing the same thing. It's hitting both spots, so.
Mhm.
I'll just touch base with Nathan.
And you could add that, you could add, like she said, you could add, what is it?
Couple of
3
miles.
miles down through there. You could
Yeah.
always say Amish Road, 3 miles.
And you're good with a sign or the same thing?
Keep the sign, yeah.
Mhm.
Stay out of,
Mentioned lights.
keep out of
and stuff
light,
like
no.
that. And you're getting into like 2 to 10 grand.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
no.
No, I would say we've
Okay.
already got signs
Yeah.
and they haven't pushed back on those, so adding one shouldn't.
No.
This help with the safety. All right,
Yep.
I'll touch base with Nathan. All right, the next one is another business is the parking at the community center. Carrie, I have your notes
Oh,
here.
yes.
It's probably better if you.
Somebody asked me about getting their car off the street. They're living in an apartment that doesn't have enough parking for everybody. They're parked on the street. They'd like to, like the winter time, they'd like to park in the community center parking lot at night. So then they're out of the way of the plows and they're just out of the way. I asked my insurance agent, just in general, a public building. Did you print that? I didn't. I forgot to print that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. That's yours right there.
Okay.
Is that what the email you sent me?
Yeah. So the town would only be liable if the damage was caused as a result of negligence by the town, like plow truck or something. Or if the town promised security, park here and we'll keep the car safe. And we can even have a letter that says, I agree to park here at my own risk. And it just gets them off the street. She just like to get her car off the street and out of the way of, like I said, the plow trucks and traffic and.
Yeah. So this is where I'm the hardliner usually.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to, Ed and I have talked about this a few times. It's like I always try to play goalie for the town. We've told others they couldn't park there, right? We've told other neighbors that this is a municipal parking lot and you can't use it as it's your own. That doesn't mean that, you know, if there's an event or if there's, you know, the parents visiting from out west for the weekend, that we couldn't allow that. I think that's something that we would do for anybody. But to take it beyond that, to say this municipal parking can be used personally is bad. It's not just for insurance, but you know, it's used for municipal business. It's used for people gathering on the weekends if they rent the hall, right? It's used for any number of events for this building. And so I fear there would be not much of an end to that if you start that. And that parking lot would have more than one car in it. And then you're not going to be able to say no to anybody, right? I think if we look at what our purpose is for municipal grounds, it's for municipal grounds. It's not for private business in that sort of a way. If people are renting apartments without space to park, then there's another issue there, right? That's a landlord issue. It's not a town issue. So for me, I'm not in favor of that. And that doesn't mean that they couldn't use it for an hour or two, or, you know, in the event that there's too many people in the house for one night. But that's not setting some sort of precedence on you can personally use this place for your private. I would not be in favor of that.
I have Deb too when you're done, sorry. Go ahead, Deb.
Doesn't mean that you two can't be though, and voted in.
No, I was asking, I just.
Yeah.
Bringing it, I mean,
that's.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but.
Yeah.
Hi, Deb.
Hi. No, one, I was just wondering about the park and ride. That's available for people to be able to park in longer periods of time where that doesn't affect us down at the park and ride down by Martha's. But also Nate came in today looking for some information on a couple of our neighbors or a couple of our residents in the village, because with vehicles just being parked wherever they want to park them out on the road, especially when it's winter, you've got the snowstorms. He's having issues with people just parking their vehicles on the road instead of in their yards for plowing the roads, for plowing the sidewalks, for sanding the sidewalks, being able to get the equipment down there. So yeah, it's definitely, it's been an issue for several residents. Some, I just think they're just parking on the side of the road, not necessarily just in their driveways, but yeah, he's having issues with some other residents in regards to that.
That's her only parking is on the road. Okay, I'll let her know. Maybe she could park at Drushes.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's other areas that it's just. I mean, unless Dan wants to, you know, have a difference of opinion, you guys can feel free to keep throwing it on the table. But I mean, I'm going to consistently say what I just did. I kind of learned those things over time, which is, there's no end to it, right? When you start, it's like it's like what we just did with Melanie, right? It's like write the rules and then keep within the rules, and it's a municipal parking lot. It's not a private parking lot.
Okay. Next, under other business, just a quick update on the delinquent tax collector meeting. Kate, David and I met. We had a positive meeting. Any of the NEMRIC issues they solved and figured out. So everybody has access to the right things to process the delinquent taxes. And then we set up a good process for receiving checks and information for the three of us to work through. So everything seems to be progressing good there.
Thank you for all that work.
Yep. And then county meeting warning there, you have the paper.
Next week.
Yep.
Did Matt go to that? Did anybody go to that last year?
No, sure.
I don't remember if anyone went or not.
You could ask Matt if you guys are still communicating at all, if he did that, or if you wanna go, certainly
Yeah.
have that, might learn something. I bet he has.
That's December 9th at 8 a.m. in Newport. That's what I'm not, yeah, I'll talk to that.
Yep.
And the next one is, I don't know if you guys remember, you got an email from Deb on this, and then I looked further into it, Watershed Consulting. So the property is Hancock Hill Gravel Pit. And I guess this started with your former road commissioner like 15 years ago. It's a stormwater study and permit for that area. And it's required by the state. So I guess each year I talked to Deb, it's been like $400 to $500 just for them to go up and, you know, they check it out and give you the permit or whatever, but it's expiring with the state on January 15th. And they need to do a new stormwater pollution prevention plan. They have to update that whole thing. So you'll see the project total on there. That's why it's more expensive. And then they have to do quarterly reports this year, which means they have to go up 4 different times, you know, look for runoff and do runoff reports. And then, so that'll cover everything. They take care of the report. So that's a discrepancy from last year to this year. That was in the email. I guess that was what Deb was wondering about and what I was bringing to your attention. And then going forward in the future, if everything goes right, they won't have to do quarterly reports on it and quarterly inspections. So they would just have to be in there once a year and a quick update to the plan and the report.
So this is an annual.
Dad, what you got on that?
I got the same as what Ed has. And going after this next year, the price is supposed to decrease back down to about that $400 to $500 mark.
Right.
And then I think Ed is researching with the LCT just to see if there's some other companies out there just for due diligence, to see if they possibly provide this service and maybe get a quote from them for doing it as well.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. I did do that, and they haven't gotten back to me yet, the LCT, but they they forwarded the email along to someone and CC'd me on it, so.
So just for one more time, you guys, why is it such a peak this year and then back to the regular?
So you'll see on the total estimated cost, it's the stormwater pollution prevention plan. They have to update that. You know, or basically, you know, change the whole thing. It's required by the state. That's how I talked to this person on here. I think his name's on the back page.
Yep.
Andres Teresa.
Yep. Okay.
And
so it's upfront time and energy.
Yeah, he can give us any more information. And then their quarterly monitoring is $2,200 because over the next year they're going to have to come 4 times.
Gotcha.
To get everything in line to, you know, to do right what the state wants.
If the state didn't make changes, we wouldn't be seeing any increase, but the state is making changes regarding this. So we need to go in and update our permit on that end. So that's why there's a cost. And the 2,200, if you divide that by 4, you're going to get to approximately what it would cost for each year when they come to do the assessment.
And that's if everything goes right. And he did say, like, my guess was he was hinting at our road foreman or somebody in the road crew can kind of take data and give a report to them, and that'll save you money. I think that's where you save having them not come out. So
I get it.
But Deb mentioned 400 to 500. He said like 600 tops yearly moving forward. That's if everything goes right and they don't have to come back out and redo this.
So I guess this
So the only information, sorry to interrupt you, is that I don't have is what Deb was talking about on other companies and getting, you know, a price from them. So. And it sounds like they've been doing it for, I think he said 15 years. He started with your former road commissioner.
Yeah, I'm remembering it way back now. Now it makes sense. It made no sense to me a week ago. So thank you. I think just, the flag was from Deb. Thanks, Deb, because you kind of started that flag, but I mean, I think I'd be comfortable with it.
Okay.
They know your ground, they know your land. Doesn't mean we shouldn't find out if there's others there, but there's only, we would probably need to motion this, because it's an agreement. It's a scope of services agreement. And they're gonna want that.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to mention this to you, Deb. You had already left, but he did say too, when I spoke to him again, that he would like to know as soon as possible.
Right.
Because of scheduling, because there's so many other towns
They're in January.
that are have to follow this state thing. So, I mean,
Yep.
that doesn't mean we can't get other quotes. Just
Right.
to let you
So
know.
they're not gonna go up there and do it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ed could just sign it.
Mhm. I read somewhere it's gonna be done by like February. I thought.
Complete an annual inspection report by February 2027.
Oh, yeah, that was different.
But they gotta start January 1. Visual monitoring. Deb, are you comfortable with keeping it the way it is?
Absolutely. I mean, they provided the service that I could see for at least since 2006.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm thinking there must be a 10-year period that maybe the state goes in to have a revamp done. And that's why it's triggered it. Because back in 2006, the cost that year was almost $2,000. So to me, that sounds like something happened during that year as well.
Good with it.
All right.
There's a signature on there that
Okay.
you'll have to do if that's what we want to do.
I make a motion to accept the watershed consulting.
Actually, can you do it right now though? Because
You
it was
can't.
other.
But other business, we can't.
So let's put it in next.
Put it in the
But
next.
you can let them know if you want to communicate.
Sure. Yeah.
That'll get done at the next meeting.
That's right.
Good catch.
And yeah, thank you, Deb. Actually, I never even got the email. So Deb forwarded it to me and noticed the price, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yep, no problem.
And
Do our system.
Oh, yep, the table.
one more quick one, Deb can expand on this too, just about the dates for the next meetings. There is, let me bring up this calendar. The 15th would be the next one, but then you also can do it on the 22nd or 29th, right, Deb? Am I saying right what we discussed? 15th or 22nd?
Yeah, I'm thinking 15th or 22nd. You guys can still have your meeting on the 15th.
Yeah.
I will not have AP warrants for the 15th because that's too early in the month for us to be able to get most of our normal expenses that we should receive. So if you still have them the 15th, I would just send a special AP to Scott, probably Christmas week, for his review and approval for the rest of the board to sign on January 5th for your next meeting. Or if you postpone it to the 22nd, then you'd probably have AP for the night of the 22nd, but that's your choice.
I'd say keep for normal days.
Keep it same.
15th.
15th.
Keep it away from Christmas.
Excellent. Will be in.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll send you a special AP then the week of the 22nd, Scott.
Yep, okay, I'll be watching for it.
Thank you, Deb. All right, unless you guys had anything else for other business, approval of minutes, 11/17.
Those we actually have to table because it was just Dan and I here.
Oh, okay,
So we'll add those to the next meeting.
all right.
With the paper you created tonight.
You're kidding, right?
And Ed, if you want to make a note for January,
Sure.
the third Monday is a holiday. So in January, you'll have to have a different date for the meeting.
Okay.
the
Thank you.
second meeting.
Anything crazy in the warrants, Deb?
Nope. You got a few that I segregated out as notes when I sent it to you, just so that you would see. There
Yeah.
are also separate warrants for them specifically.
Okay.
But no, you already talked a little about the asbestos. That's one of the invoices. EDP funding for the school. And then some engineering for the Route 14 garage. For the oddballs.
And that EDP, that's just a reimbursable, right?
That is correct. I spoke with the school. They are going to try to do that more on a quarterly basis than what they have been, technically just once a year. So far it seems like they're working on that schedule.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to us, right?
It doesn't. And from the prior meeting, I did receive the school educational tax check. So that will be deposited. So the school thanks you.
Well, yep, well, thank the taxpayers.
I make a motion to accept the warrants as presented.
I second, all in favor?
Aye.
Right,
Motion to adjourn.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Hey, you too,
Have a good
Deb.
night. Thank you.